Hey guys, it's Vince. Today in this video, we are on the channel CNC Woodshop, and it's got 576 subscribers, and it's got 80 likes by supposed humans like yourself. And as we watch this video, I'm just going to give you a brief overview. This gentleman here is not selling anything, or at least he's not selling anything in a fashion that we've seen in previous content creator videos. He's doing what a lot of content creators do, and that's where they tell you about the upgrades they've made to their robots. That's what he's covering here. This video you're going to learn a lot from because it proves every video I've ever discussed about the connection type that he selected for his particular controller. Let's listen.
My current controller is a Mach 4 based controller, and I'm planning to move away from the Mach 4 platform for various reasons. But this little controller is made in China, and it's a fantastic little controller.
Now you heard him say it's a fantastic little controller, and we know it's USB. I'm not going to go into USB yet. We'll let him continue.
It has a USB connection for easy setup, and it has all the necessary input and output pins you require for running a machine like this.
So that's what we've seen him focus on. It's got all the necessary hookups. He's showing you it's a fantastic little board. We've got the overview. He was nice enough to put chapters in here. So let's just use his chapters, and we'll come up here, and we've got VFD and spindle. But here's where things start going really interesting.
Options of control software that you can use, like for instance OpenBuilds, UGS, or even GSender. They are all free and available on the internet and are.
Now, I get asked about free software a lot, and here's my personal opinion on free software when it comes to CNC automation robotics, where precise, concise information is a must. If you are looking at free software, don't bitch and complain if you have problems. Don't bitch and complain if it's missing features that you require. That's why you pay for quality software, because when you have the funding, you can make sure that the coding is done properly to support higher end use. If you're okay with trial and error, if you're okay with the fact that you may run into glitches, you may run into features missing, free is the way to go.
Constantly supported and updated. So as soon as I upgraded to the spindle and the VFD, I ran into a new problem called EMI. So
no shit. Really?
EMI is basically electromagnetic interference.
I love when they tell us about it.
So what EMI basically does, it penetrates your electronic circuits and interfere with your signaling and can cause your machine to shut down. Every
can cause your machine to shut down. That's a new one by me.
time I started up the VFD, the machine will shut down, triggering false alarms in the software. EMI can cause havoc on your machine and can cause your machine to shut down. There are various options and upgrades you can do to your machine to prevent EMI from penetrating your system and shutting.
Now listen carefully. He said there's various options and upgrades you can do to your machine. Various options and upgrades. Okay, let's listen where this goes.
It down. The obvious first one is the cabling. You can change your cabling to.
Did you hear it? You heard it, right? Let's see it. Let's listen again. Hold on.
Is the cabling. You can change your cabling to shielded cable.
You can change your cabling. Shouldn't it be, sir, your cable should have come correct the first time because the proper research was done by whatever manufacturer you purchased the machine from? That's real engineering. We don't buy a car at Chevy and then decide to change the tires off when we buy the car because Chevy put the wrong tires on it. Are you serious? This is the kind of logic we have become accustomed to. I mean, this is what's being now posted. And once again, we're getting views on this. People are looking at this. This man posted this, October 26th. So we're about 4 days old. He's got 2,819 views on this video. Again, 80 likes. And in his mind, he's saying you can upgrade your cabling and you can look at that as an upgrade. No, that's called best practice. The whole idea is to mitigate EMI before it occurs. That's logic. We should not be looking at it as an upgrade. We don't make a machine and then decide to fix things. What we do is we build the machine right the first time, and then we mitigate those errors from ever becoming an error because the problem was solved with proper engineering. Make sense?
That's what I did. I changed the cabling for the stepper motors as well as the limit switches. And
now my question to this gentleman and all the other guys that are thinking like him, what do you think that costs you? How smart is it And what do you think it costs you when...
Hey guys, jump over to eDealers Direct Automation and check out my eBay store for the components used to make what you see in this video, as well as many others that you may not even realize you need. Of course, I'm always there if you have questions. Message me and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And of course, I do custom engineering as well as consultations. Thank you for watching this video and your support. Take care.
You buy a machine that's built half-assed, and then you look at it and say, now I've got to upgrade it. What do you think that costs you? And I want to know what you pay yourself, because at one point or another, you're going to start paying yourself. So I want to know what you're going to pay yourself in time and lost effort, and also to actually exchange the parts with the correct ones.
And the homing switches to shielded cable, and I ground.
And again, let's be concise. When he says shielded cable, double shielded cable with both tin braided copper, that's 80% of the shield. 100% of the shield is mylar foil, because that covers 100% of the leads. This is best practice to mitigate both forms of EMI and once again create bulletproof signal protection when those cables are built correctly and proper grounding is implemented on these cables. Utilizing the shield drain, you'll be set.
Everything onto the base frame, and that's connected to the earth of the building. One other option you can also try is to install an EMI line filter that basically sits between your power supply of your machine and the wall socket where it is connected to. Just make sure it's grounded properly as well.
Now see how quick he goes? Just make sure it's grounded properly as well. Most of his audience probably don't have any clue how to ground anything properly. Okay? The other thing to keep in mind here, guys, is we have to refer back to what he just originally said about that fantastic board. It's fantastic. Is it fantastic? Is it still fantastic the way he described it? I don't think so.
But even that was not enough to keep the EMI out, so I decided to ditch the Arduino Uno.
So his little Arduino Uno, which is also USB, he decides now it's time to ditch it because he didn't learn from the first board that's USB that there's a problem. So we already know, after he's saying that the machine is shutting down, that there's a malignant issue that needs to be addressed. So when do we learn? When do we start documenting and making sure that we're taking the proper notes so that we don't let the continuous problem just keep biting us? If we do a research correctly and you realize that USB is causing an issue because it's blatantly unstable, why would you continue to utilize USB in different board configurations? Makes no sense.
Another problem I had with the Arduino Uno was when I upgraded to the spindle and the VFD.
Now, as he continues here, like I said, he left us chapters. So let's just come over here, and now he's going to optocouplers. And I want you to listen to his explanation here of what he decided to install to mitigate his EMI.
The EMI penetrating the system, I came across this optocoupler module. Basically what it does, it optically separates the electronic circuits from the electrical circuit of the CNC, meaning there's no physical or electrical connection between the two circuits and blocking any EMI.
Now, read this. EMI equals noise from the VFD into the cables to the controller. That's true. And the optocoupler solution does work in a small distance coming through those leads. However, it does not stop radiated EMI. And that's the thing that these guys fail to research. This is why research and understanding of what you're talking about needs to be deeper than surface level. You're looking at a problem at 30,000 feet, and that's what we talk about when we talk corporate. That's a term used. You're looking at it from a distance. When you're looking at it with firsthand knowledge from someone that does it all the time, every day, you start realizing the limitations of certain engineering practices. There is no board that's going to stop radiated EMI. It's going to happen. And because radiated EMI happens, the only way to mitigate it is with proper cabling that's using double shielding. And that is how we mitigate it, with that Faraday cage protection. What you're seeing here is once again a half-cocked way of thinking that he's all of a sudden now made his controller functional. And functional in the sense that now it's reliable. Let's use that word carefully, because reliability is only applicable when we have a duration of time. Your terminology of reliable and my terminology probably is totally different. I have guys that'll say they've run their system an hour and their system is reliable. That's not reliable to me. Reliable to me is like months. When it's running months and you've run, 30, 50, 100 jobs, then you can say you've got a much better sense of reliability. Until you do that and you instigate installing something like this, you really don't know what's stable unless you're looking at very short time frames.
Reliable and cheap CNC controller using the Arduino, it basically let me down. It was powered by a 12-volt DC and connected to USB on my laptop, and for some odd reason the Arduino popped and the 12-volt went straight into my laptop via the USB and fried the motherboard. So I'm teaching the Arduino. So like I mentioned at the beginning.
Did you hear what he just said and how casually he said it? It actually back voltaged into his laptop and destroyed his laptop. Listen to this again. I know he has an accent.
And fried the motherboard. So it was powered by a 12-volt DC and connected to USB on my laptop, and for some odd reason the Arduino popped and the 12-volt went straight into my laptop via the USB and fried the motherboard. So
I would call that a severe problem. I would not just brush over that. And this is where you guys need to really assess what I'm telling you. Am I just hot air? Am I just full of shit? Or am I telling you the truth? These are the gentlemen that are content creating and making videos like this. Once again, he had a board that he originally selected that was Universal Serial Bus. You saw what Universal Serial Bus does and is. And then we also then selected an Arduino, which is Universal Serial Bus. Once again, we've already identified what Universal Serial Bus does and is. And yet, we wait until we destroy a laptop. This is why I'm telling you, be careful who you learn from. Let me ask you a question logically. Do you think this gentleman's on forums? Do you think guys like him are not on forums? They're not waiting out there to give you direction. He's doing it now with his channel. There are guys out there that will look at this channel and say, this guy, oh, that makes sense. That's a good looking board. I like that. You have to think and really, really assess what you've just watched here. And it just proved to you why my channel is so important.